Hey, what's up guys, welcome to Average Gaming. Today I'll be discussing what we know about the Rise of Iron expansion and what has been revealed on a new Twitch stream. I'd like to just mention that this is my first voiceover, so bear with me please. So, as you know, Rise of Iron will be the fourth and final instalment to what is essentially still the base Destiny game. Now I know saying the base Destiny game rustles some feathers, however in the grand scheme of things we are still on Destiny 1, the difference being we have had 4 expansions, well it will be 4 soon. Anyway, back to Rise of Iron. So far, we know that this is a Fallen DLC if we ignore the House of Wolves because that was more an event than a DLC in my eyes, and whilst it's no Cabal DLC, I think we can all agree for now this will do. After all, we are entering Destiny's 3rd year, and I for one have had just about enough of the Hive. So, Lord Saladin will be acting as the main go-to guy, which makes sense considering the DLC is clearly centred around the Iron Lords, a group of warriors that inevitably fell to Siva, apart from Saladin. Whilst it has been confirmed that we are getting a new raid, a strike, etc., it also leads me to believe that maybe Iron Banner might be getting a new face/feature, and may even be getting completely overhauled as we know a new Crucible mode is coming. But what's really exciting about the prospect of this DLC is that it's the first to be released only on current generation consoles, which may or may not mean that we'll actually be getting better value for money this time. Only time will tell. I digress anyway. The main protagonist, being the Fallen, had discovered the Siva that Saladin buried deep in the Plague Lands and have managed to literally splice it into their armour and bodies to become meta-Fallen, and of course it's all down to the House of Devils. Unfortunately, we won't be able to have our own pack of wolves. However, if you're that eager to be in a pack of wolves, I suppose that's the purpose of the raid. Go and assemble your pack and fight for the alpha status, or raid leader in this case. Anyway, moving on to the armour we know about. Now, one thing that really caught my eye was the Hunter armour for Trials and the Warlock armour for Iron Banner. Thankfully, they have had a full makeover and not look 100% copy and paste like previous DLCs. I mean, that Warlock armour looks like it should have made an appearance in Lord of the Rings. That is a sweet looking set of armour. The Hunter, on the other hand, looks striking in its Trials gear, to the point where I want to dust off my Hunter just to get that gear for Trials. The Titan, whilst it has a new look armour, it looks like it could be either raid gear or Titan specific gear, you know, from a strike or something along those lines. However, because of its resemblance to Siva, I'm inclined to say that it's raid gear, and whilst very nice, it also looks incredibly basic. We also know that there will be at least one new ghost, which is Siva inspired, and also leads me to think that this ghost shell will be from the raid. Anyway, moving on to weapons now. And yes, right, the much anticipated Galahorn is back in black, and ooh, does it look sweet. However, whether or not it will be a game changer that was in year 1 is yet to be seen, what with all the persistent nerfs that Bungie keep on doing and whatnot. And whilst I cannot wait to get my hands on a weapon, I don't want to jump too far onto the hype wagon for fear that it'll end up shooting nerf rounds instead of rockets. One weapon that did catch my eye was the Omolon Scout Rifle that has been shown. You can clearly see on the side it has some elements of Siva on it, which leads me to think this could be a raid weapon as well, and if not, then surely it belongs to a strike, which again leads me to think that there will be more strike-specific loot on offer in this DLC. A few other weapons worth mentioning are a shotgun, which I think may either be a faction shotgun or Vanguard. However, you can see elements from the trial shotgun with the butt at the end looking rather familiar. Yet the weapon I am most stoked about is the Titan Axe, and I call it the Titan Axe because it's the only character we see with one. It might be worth saying, though, at this point I'm not 100% sure what is actually going on with it. However, we know that it will be similar to the House of Wolves Cannon Blaster, where you can find it in the open world and use it for a limited time. Whether this is for public events or just random drops is still to be seen, but either way, I'm eager to get my hands on it. Moving on to the new areas. The Plague Lands is the new area that we've been told about. This will be the setting for the new DLC, which I presume is where Felwinter's Peak and the new social space will be. Whilst I'm interested to learn more about this, I'm sure Bungie will reveal all on their Twitch streams and online, at which point I will do a summary of the key areas. But one thing I did want to talk about is the environment. What a lot of players have been asking for since day one is changing weather patterns to the likes of other games such as GTA, etc. And it looks like Bungie have listened, sort of. If I remember rightly, they said in a stream at some point that there won't be an ever-changing climate, but rather that winter is coming, in that most of the landscape on Earth will be changed to a winter theme. However, don't quote me on that, as I'm still not 100% about that until Bungie make it official. Either way, dynamic climates on Earth and other planets would only add to the Destiny experience. A quick note on the social space: whilst we know it's set in the Plaguelands, here's hoping that we can somehow minimise loading screen and travel time. How they do this without the social space physically being part of the map on Earth, I don't know. But I think we can all agree the most annoying thing is having to spend so long travelling from the Guardian Tower to Earth, vice versa. However, I do appreciate that they are for all intents and purposes separate entities, and any changes to that are more of a quality of life issue rather than essential. Anyway, moving on to the most recent stream, and we have what is quite possibly the nicest sparrow I have seen in the game. I mean, I thought the legendary sparrows from the SRL event were sweet, but this is amazing, Shaq's pun intended. The Iron Gallowing. This is possibly the most detailed sparrow to date and looks amazing, and I'm not normally big for cosmetics except the actual game world, but this will be a beautiful addition to my sparrow collection. There will be two versions of the sparrow, the Gallowing sparrow and the Iron Gallowing sparrow, the former being available through Eververse, and the latter being part of a pre-order package. I don't have any confirmation as to whether it will be available outside the pre-order. Moving on, during the reveal, we've seen that all the characters had new armor sets, which actually looks like they suit the characters properly, and by that I mean all the colours are flush and even, and they just look aesthetically pleasing. We also saw some of the new reskinned weapons, which look they have opted for full weapon skins instead of part skins, which is nice, but I don't really care what the skin looks like as long as the weapon does what it's meant to. As far as the game world is concerned, there have been more than just a bit of snow added. Whole areas have been changed and reconfigured, and the weather actually looks very well suited to the landscape, which is what we would expect from Russia, really. You can also see that the development team have really tried to rework the Cosmodrome to make it look fresh and contain new content. The Twitch revealed team actually described Siva as self-replicating machine manipulating technology, which gives the impression that it's intelligent but still needs an entity to control it, which is a scary concept for technology, but something the sci-fi buffs among us should be very familiar with. We also got to see some of the Devil Splicer's work, cutting up containers to be used as materials and changing the environment. On the Fallen, now that the House of Devils has spliced themselves with the Siva, you can tell there is a visual difference in how they appear and how their weapons work as well. Most of their weapons now shoot rounds that are a bright, noticeable red, and as for the services, they seem to now have a burst fire mode that rapidly shoots red orbs of death at you. As for what we have been shown so far, everything looks cool and improved. However, I'm sure there are some of us that are thinking, well, Bungie have done it again, used areas that already existed and reskinned them, which we are all familiar with by now. However, as I said, the changes are noticeable, and I'm sure they still have a lot more to show us. Well, that's all I have for you this week, guys. So thanks for watching. Hit that like and subscribe, and I'll be back again once we know a little bit more. Till next time, Guardians.